All right. So good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for this month's Equity Matters webinar. This month is really appropriate for the time that we're in right now. We're going to be having a conversation about how we prepare for emergency preparedness and disasters and in the midst of a tornado warning that we have right now. So, or is it tornado watch? I'm sure Jason will let us know between the two. But we have a wonderful panel for us today. We're going to go around and allow them to introduce themselves. But before we do that, my name is Fawn Rhodes. I'm your Health and Human Services Equity Coordinator. Every month, I host this program, which is Equity Matters, and we discover different topics and learn about a variety of ways that we are performing equity within our community. So we are making sure that all of our community needs are being met. So again, I will start with my left. On my left is Mr. Jason Fuller. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us how you've come to the county and what role that you play with us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Fuller. I'm the Senior Emergency Management Specialist over Operations with Emergency Management. I actually came to the county roughly a year ago now, so happy anniversary to me. I came from the fire and EMS service primarily, and my role was a new role within the county, molded from other part-time roles that have been there present or previously to help ensure that as a county we have a better understanding of all the major events that are happening in the county and just a really good grasp on operations and what people need and how we can reach out and help them function better during these emergencies.
Well, thank you so much. We welcome you. Thank you for making it to 1 year. Happy anniversary. It's your anniversary. And so we are moving to our next panelist, and that's going to be Ms. Janelle Washington. Could you mind sharing who you are, how you've come to be on the panel, and what role that you play?
Good morning. My name is Janelle Washington, and I myself am like Jason. I am newly into a year, so I just made my year also. But I am the part-time executive director for the New Hanover Disaster Coalition. And basically how I came into the role, just kind of doing community outreach on my personal time. I am a Wilmingtonian. I like to say that. So born and raised here. And so just kind of networking and really just indulging into what I love doing, which is outreach and helping others.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least is Ms. Carla Turner. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I am Carla Turner. I'm looking at the panel, and in more ways than one, I'm the old lady on the panel. I've been with the county for 23 years and 2 days. I started on September 25th of 2001 with New Hanover County as a school nurse. So I've been doing this for a long time. In my current role, I'm a public health division manager. I cover different areas. I'm the manager of WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, as well as care management. And I am the supervisor of the health promotion team, and I am the public health preparedness coordinator. So I wear a lot of hats, but so I'm here with you guys today because of my public health preparedness role. So thanks for having me, Fawn.
Well, thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to throw this question out there, and anyone can answer. Really, to be honest with you, what is disaster preparedness? We hear this a lot, and especially in our region, we hear the term disaster preparedness. But could you unpack it a little bit and make it make sense for those who have an idea? They think they know what it is, but they're really not sure what it means and how it applies to us on an everyday basis. And anyone can start.
I'll happily jump in here and say that I know disaster preparedness for me is just that. It's a very individual term, and it's the ability for somebody to recognize what kind of things that they or their family might have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that could be, sudden major events like a hurricane or even a car crash that blocks traffic into their neighborhood, and having a plan to address how you would handle each one of those events. The idea being that a more general approach of understanding that you have communication pathways, with your family, you have backup plans, extra water, extra food, extra medications on hand, things like that. That's all really important. And being even more specific for some of them and saying, well, if a major hurricane comes in, I have a place to go. I know where I'm going to go. If we lose power, I know where my flashlights are. ideally, that's all disaster preparedness is to me, is it's just having that understanding of what could impact you and your family and having a plan to mitigate some of those things that might happen.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate you breaking that down because again, sometimes when we utilize language, we were just having this conversation. The language that is used is not in a way that everyday people can understand. And we want to make sure that when we are having conversations, that we bring everybody into the conversation, that they can level set and say, okay, I know exactly what they're talking about. Janelle, in terms of the New Hanover disaster preparedness, now we know that that's not affiliated with the county per se, but it is an organization that is here to serve our community. What role do you all play, and what exactly do you all do?
So we, even though we're not affiliated with the county, we definitely work hand in hand with the county.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a familyhood, right? And so what does like disaster preparedness will look like for us, and the role that we play is helping residents in the time of disaster and before disaster.
Okay.
And kind of the ways, things that we do to get prepared is we hold bi-monthly partner meetings, right? And so like when we have those partner meetings, we come together to educate the residents of resources that are available in what they call the blue sky days. So when we come to these terms or things that we have going on outside of hurricanes, tornadoes, like Jason said, maybe a car accident, we know what those resources are because we know when the natural disaster comes, then chaos is among us.
Mhm.
And so our role is to educate our residents. We work with nonprofits who are also disaster related also. And so just education, that's the biggest piece that I will say is just getting out and helping people understand, breaking down the language and understanding what it is that we do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Carla, when you are speaking from a public health perspective, how important is disaster preparedness for our community?
Very important, Fawn, and that's a piece of what I do. One of the CDC and public health capabilities that I focus on is community education and community preparedness, and that's one of my goals this year, is to see if we can do some more things to do some education with the community. Now, right now, a lot of what I focus on is preparing our staff, because our staff needs to be prepared. Because EM, Jason and his folks over at Emergency Management, they handle emergency management. The public health piece comes in when that event in emergency management affects public health, and that's when I step in. We work hand in hand. I think about in storms like, the storms we're having now, sheltering, that we have our staff, DSS manages our shelters, public health provides the health services in our shelters. So working hand in hand that way with EM. So, but as far as preparing the community, just looking to get them out there to know where they can find the resources that they need, and what to do in the event. And not just before the event happens and when the event is happening, but post-event when we're helping people try to recover. Public health plays a big piece in that as well.
Thank you for sharing. What ways can a disaster impact a person's or a community's public health?
Well, I think about when we have a hurricane come through and we have flooding. I think about with Florence and all the standing water we had. You've got things happening in people's houses. You've got things happening in buildings. You've got restaurants that are closed, and restaurants want to open back up, right? It's business, it's the economy. Our environmental health folks have to get out there and inspect those restaurants before, if they've lost power, before they can open back up, that type of thing. From our public health standpoint, making sure people have access to things to help, we can help clean their house. There are a lot of things that were put together during Florence for people to clean the mold and mildew out of their house. Working with people who maybe have some respiratory issues and those types of things, mold and mildew from storms is affecting them, helping them get the resources that they need. So just those types of things. And even, COVID was a public health emergency, right? So I'm thinking about getting out there and vaccinating people, we call it medical countermeasures. So doing mass vaccinations in the event of some type of outbreak. So those types of things.
Thank you for that. And I see exactly what you talk about with that when you're giving those examples. Jason, what are some common challenges we face in preparing for disasters in our area, and how can we improve?
So our number one challenge with emergency management is finding out that perfect line of how to communicate with people, how to communicate with groups of individuals, how to get our messages across that we need to, while not oversaturating people with information. Because the reality is that anywhere you look on Facebook, Twitter, whatever your choice of social media is or news agency is, there's going to be information about whatever disaster is occurring or whatever event is possibly going to occur. it's just trying to be that trusted source of information where we can go out and we're saying, hey, we're not trying to sensationalize this. We want everybody to be prepared because the reality is something is coming. And a great example is the hurricane that's coming through our area today, which doesn't seem to be having a huge impact on us. That's great. But that's also why you didn't see us blasting out constant messages saying, be prepared, you need to leave, you need to have all of these things on hand for an extended period of time because we won't be able to get to you. It's just our number one challenge is being able to find that perfect line of how to communicate with folks and make sure we're reaching everybody, because some people receive information really well and may not be able to communicate back to us. Some people aren't receiving the information well and are communicating with us. So it's just that communication is always the number one struggle for us, because if we don't know that individuals or groups within the community have specific needs, then we don't really have a good way of addressing them or an ability to start addressing them. So that's easily our number one challenge.
Speaking to that, how can we reach and support those who are often overlooked during disasters, like the homeless or those who have language access barriers to get the things that they need?
From our perspective, our number one goal is to make those connections before the disaster ever hits. Like Janelle was talking about, those blue sky days. We love talking about blue sky days versus gray sky or rainy days. For us, is trying to get out in the community and go to these community events so that people even know we exist. It's pretty easy for folks to say, I know what a firefighter is. I know what a paramedic or an EMT, an ambulance driver, any number of those common terminologies we might use. They know what they are. Right. Not a lot of folks know what emergency management is because we kind of sometimes are secluded away in our offices, writing plans, hanging out with Carla in public health and doing that kind of stuff. But it's important for us to get out to these public events so that people understand we're here to help you. And whether it's you want assistance on understanding how to write your family's emergency plan, like what you want to do with that, we can help you with that. If you have ideas and say, well, I think I should do this and want to run by us, cool. But for us, it's leveraging our DEI partners within the county and making sure that we're reaching out to all these different agencies that already exist and operate with these populations and say, hey, include us in. Let me sit in on that meeting so people see my face and they know, oh man, the first time I see this guy, it's going to be a scary time. No, I'm just sitting here in a meeting, hanging out with you, wanting to know what you need. And it's just really making those connections before anything ever happens is usually our best tool to use.
Yeah.
And Fawn, I would say from our public health standpoint, we do have here at HHS, we have the street outreach team that is constantly in contact with our unsheltered citizens, residents. And so we can certainly utilize them to get information out and about. They have the best avenues in. We work with our Good Shelter, Good Shepherd Homeless Shelter, a few blocks away from here. We provide health services there during the week. And so we work with them and we can certainly get information to the folks who are staying there. And also through our DEI department office here with the county, we can work with those folks. I know you do that a lot with the different populations to gain access because they already have inroads with those people. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The access is there. We just have to figure out how to tap into it.
That's exactly right. You're both making excellent points. We are so fortunate that we do have a DEI office and that they have such strong connections and partnerships within our community. So oftentimes we do lean on them, the Health and Human Services and just the county overall when it comes to serious situations so we can get into those spaces. So thank you for bringing that up. Janelle, when we are thinking about the best steps, what are the best practices that we can take to prepare for ourselves and our families for emergencies, especially in some more disaster-prone areas?
So definitely kind of what Jason said is utilizing the resources that are around you, definitely prior, right? And so kind of what Jason said, like they have an outreach component or a component that will come. And so just kind of seeing what resources are around, see if they're hosting maybe a disaster preparedness event, see what's going on around in the community. I mean, like I said, just taking, being a part of events that is going on. So definitely, emergency management has wonderful information that they share. Roy Haplin came out even to a church event that we did and was able to give out information about preparing, registering, any kind of registration or registries that you needed to join. So the biggest part is educating yourself and working. I always tell people preparing ahead of time. So when we have like those blue sky days, when you're sitting around, right, just kind of small things, when you're sitting around, start gathering that paperwork together, start taking advantage of the time that you have. I'm a bad person for it. Like I sit on TikTok, I'll get hooked for an hour or so, and I'm like, you know what? I could be preparing my emergency list. I could be preparing my medicine. I can go ahead and pack me a to-go bag, because we never know, right? It may be a rainstorm, or it might be raining. Then it might be like, hey, we need to evacuate. So taking advantage of the blue sky days, educating yourself, taking advantage of resources that are around are probably my top 3 that I would say would be the best components.
Now, a question that I didn't send, and I do apologize, this word just came to my mind while we were talking, is are these services free for our community? Jason, Janelle, Carla, are the services that we're speaking of, or is there a fee attached to it? Is it free, or could you expand more into that space?
So like for us, if you want to have us look at a plan that you have, that's just as simple as emailing us and saying, hey, you know, my family, or give me a call, and say, hey, my family was thinking about this, and we'll make time for you. Like the community members are there or we're there because the community members are present. So as far as us attending public events, we're always happy to attend public events wherever we can. Sometimes it's a personnel issue as far as what kind of availability is present. So I can't always promise that, yes, every single event we'll go to, but a great example is next week, I believe myself and one of the other seniors are going to go to a 3rd grade presentation on emergency action plans that the 3rd graders are writing up. And all they wanted to do is they just wanted to have 2 of us there so that the 3rd graders could talk to us about it. And I think it's fantastic because our big thing was just knowing, what do you want from us? If we are just, you know, sitting there so they can talk to us about it and we can depart with a little something, give them a little bit of information, fantastic. We're always happy to do that as long as we have the availability to do it.
What about our local businesses, whether small or some of our larger businesses? If they were to reach out, how would they organize that? Or yes, how would they reach out if they wanted you all to come to their business and help them do a plan, or just talk to their employees in general?
So I'll just speak kind of because with the Disaster Coalition, I mean, we work with businesses, we work with, you know, nonprofits. And so if a business does want us to come out, as a matter of fact, like I will be going out to a neighborhood, talking to the residents of the neighborhood. And so they just emailed me and was like, hey, can we brainstorm an idea for our residents? And so, like you said, just, you know, making that connection, emailing, and we're happy. I mean, I'm happy to come out and help with a plan. And then I would tag team, you know, if that was like an action plan, I would tag team with the county and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? And we'll come up with a plan. So yes.
Would you mind sharing your email address, Janelle? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking about homeowners associations,
Yes.
neighborhood community organizations that would want to reach out and bring you to their community, and or even like apartment communities that might want to bring you out to have a conversation. So what's your email address, or the best way for people to get in touch with you? That's a better way of saying that.
So my email is nhdisastercoalition@gmail.com.
Okay, very simple. Okay.
Very simple. Very simple.
So moving forward, so how can local groups and organizations, we basically have kind of talked to it, but what are things that you think that the community needs to do that they don't do, that they need to be better about doing, and that you see the gaps in that you all are trying to work with our community, trying to be better about?
I'll speak to that real quickly. We just want people to be proactive because like Janelle was saying, it's easy to get caught up in all kinds of other things, but we shouldn't wait until September to start thinking about putting what our plan is going to be. So that if we have to evacuate, where are we going to go and what are we going to do with our pets? That type of thing. I think we need to really work with the community to be more proactive, to have a plan in place before the event happens, as opposed to as the event's barreling down on us.
And when we talk about disasters, you brought up pets. How does that play into, Jason and Carla? You both can speak to this. How does that play into the shelters that we have here in New Hanover County as far as pets?
So
Jason, you
we
want to take
do,
that?
sure, we do have the ability to accept animals into a specific shelter. The availability of those shelters is completely dependent on what kind of storm is coming through. We are actually pushing as a department to change our verbiage a little bit on our sheltering policies. And that's just to make sure that people understand that, we do work with partners like the Disaster Coalition, the American Red Cross, to ensure that if sheltering is needed, shelter is available. And then as a county, we also look to provide, for lack of better terms, refuges of last resort. So having a place where if your home is being flooded, we can get you somewhere and have you safe and dry and fed for the time being until the American Red Cross can take over or until the Disaster Coalition can find resources. As far as the ability to be more prepared as a community, I can't stress that enough. What Carla said, your pets matter. So when you're thinking about your family, think about the entirety of your family. Think about some of these day-to-day things where you go, man, I never really thought about that. Your medications, when you go to evacuate, bring these things. You might think, well, it's not a problem if I don't take my high blood pressure med for a couple days, but then everything else kind of adds on to that. And these factors just end up combining to a much bigger issue, creating these acute or sudden health problems that, make a disaster much worse for you than they needed to be. So really understanding all of the impacts of what could happen if you were to evacuate, leave, or what these disasters could cause for problems for you and your family is really important.
And I would like to just point out with our co-location shelters where you can bring your pets, those pets that you can bring are cats or dogs. We have the capacity to care for cats and
So
dogs.
I can't bring my gecko?
No, ma'am. Sorry.
Please never hesitate to contact us if you do have some form of exotic pet, be it a gecko. Please don't call us saying that you have an alligator. But if you have some form of exotic pet, please do call us. And again, we're here to work with the community, and we'll work with you just on every possible thing that you can. But early planning helps. So if you're known to keep tigers, lions, and bears at your house, give us a call early before the hurricane, so we can say, well, that might be a problem. We'll have to work on finding you resources inland that we can get those animals early. So,
But Jason, my alligator is my emotional support animal.
yes, that happens.
But I also kind of want to tag and tap into what Jason and Carla was saying, is that everyone matters, right? And so, don't think because maybe you're a small organization, don't think that you may not have anything to offer. Contact me, connect with us. It's not a specific number for you to join us. It's not a specific identity. Join us, right? Because like I said, using different masses, you may have a small no-name storm or a no-name storm that comes through, and you may be able to be a help, and then a major one may come through. So don't feel like you don't matter. That's another thing that I want to say. Like, don't feel like you don't matter. Individual, business, group, organization, just contact me.
Now, how do we respond differently depending upon the disaster that's being that is occurring? So do you respond like presently right now? We're in the middle of a tornado watch. Am I correct? Is it watch or warning? Which one?
There's currently still a tornado watch that is occurring.
Okay, can you explain the difference for those who don't know the difference between the watch and the warning? I know
yes.
Anna likes to use the cupcake.
I said the cupcake
sure will.
example.
The cupcake example is my favorite. I don't believe that I can attribute it directly to the assistant director, Anna McCrae, as being the creator of the cupcake example, but she sure was the one that introduced it to me. So for those of you now listening or watching, the difference between a warning and a watch can most easily be understood that a watch event, so a tornado watch, a hurricane watch, tropical storm watch, and whatever watch we're having means that the ingredients are present that this could occur in the future. So it's like having all the flour, the eggs, the milk, whatever to make your cupcakes. A warning means there's a cupcake. So there's a cupcake somewhere that's present, and people get a little concerned with that because, you look at things like tornado warnings, for example, they look out their window and they don't see, ruby red slippers flying around or anything like that, or a little dog. Well, that just means that somewhere at some level, the winds are appropriately circling, or they're creating that kind of shape that there could be a tornado present. And that's the difference between radar indicated and actually being seen. But basically the difference is watch means the ingredients are present. Warning means it's there, it's cooked, it's ready to chow down on. So when it comes to planning and action, you should be taking watches seriously. We should be working to move into center location of our residents, understanding where these rooms are. In the case of a tornado watch, we don't need to be outside running around on the streets checking out flooding. And then in a warning, we need to be moving to those rooms and sitting in those rooms. We need to be protecting ourselves, protecting our family, our pets, that kind of stuff.
I love it. Thank you so much. Because I do know that that's something I've struggled with, was always trying to, was it a watch? Was it a warning? And so just making sure I understand the difference. We do have a question. What are your recommendations for preparation for family members with disabilities or special needs, such as autism, those in wheelchairs, deaf and hard of hearing? Are there specific shelters equipped for those families?
So yes and yes. The immediate recommendations, we actually have what's called the Access and Functional Needs Registry within New Hanover County. It's a fantastic resource. It's a resource that one of the folks in our department, Bill McKay, helps head up. And effectively what it is, it's our list of people who understand that they may need a little bit more assistance in the event of a disaster. So if a disaster were to come through, then we, again, partner with our Health and Human Services components and provide additional reach out. We reach out to these folks before the disaster and say, are you okay? Do you have a plan? What is that plan? Is the plan feasible? Cool. If we can't get up with you, we're going to keep trying, which means don't ignore the calls because we're going to keep calling. And then throughout the disaster, even if you're not leaving, we'll keep checking on you. As far as sheltering, there are state medical shelters if there's specific medical needs, but otherwise I'll let Carla speak a little bit more because she's way more intelligent on the sheltering than I am.
Yeah, I've had a few experiences in shelters. Yes, we certainly do. We'll accept that anybody who needs some assistance can certainly come into the shelter. But here's the thing: if a family member is bringing someone who needs assistance, that family member needs to stay with them. It's not I'm gonna bring grandmama to the shelter, then I'm gonna go stay somewhere else. You need to stay. When people come, if they need assistance, they need to bring someone with them that can provide that assistance. We have nurses, we have nursing assistants, we have social workers, we have DSS staff who are certainly going to assist in any way possible, but we have our limitations too. So we just want folks to know that if you're going to come in, if you do have some special needs, you need to make sure you have somebody with you who can help you with those special needs. As far as I think about, and Jason, you can help me with this, as far as I think about dietary needs and things like that, we do have meals obviously at the shelters, and we have meals that are people who have gluten issues and that type of thing. We can certainly accommodate those types of things. So we're ready for that. But I cannot stress enough that if you're coming to a shelter, if someone is coming in who has some mobility issues or just needs some assistance and someone is usually at home providing that, then that person needs to come to that shelter with them. But we're going to do whatever we can to help take care of the community. We're not going to turn anyone away. If someone comes in with some significant health needs, we are going to have that person have a conversation with our nurses who happen to be on shift. And if we feel like we can't provide what they need, because we are, like you said, we're a citizen shelter, we are not a special needs medical shelter, then we're going to work with our IC3 group here in the county, which is made up of county employees and community partners, to figure out where we can potentially refer that person to somewhere else so they can possibly shelter for the duration of the storm. So we're going to, we are like you said, Jason, we're a last resort citizen shelter. So you're not coming to the Hilton. You're coming to sleep on a cot with a whole bunch of other people, and we're going to take care of your basic needs, but that's what we're really equipped to do.
And I
do
want
really
to
want to
highlight
stress.
something. Go ahead, Jason.
I just really wanted to stress the idea of not being a Hilton. We care about you. We care about the community members. We care about everybody that we're bringing into these shelters. But it's really important that folks understand that, say you're bringing in your animal, for example, your pet. The pet is probably going to be placed in a crate, will be placed in a room separately away from you, and will be held in a safe, dry area and kept fed. If you have dietary needs or special dietary needs, try to accommodate for those. Bring some of those items with you, because the reality is that you'll probably be having some type of freeze-dried meal that'll be reconstituted with water for the duration of your stay. It's just, we will try to keep you as comfortable as possible, but there's also a financial responsibility that emergency management and the shelter teams have to ensure that, we're doing it in a feasible way, in a financially feasible way. So please understand that it's not going to be the Hilton, but we will try to keep you as safe and dry and warm as possible.
And thank you so much for bringing that up. One of the things I definitely want to reiterate when we're talking about those with special needs, especially in that space of autism, this is a time to really, really think about your plan. If your person needs headphones because there are sensory situations that may be going on. Put some headphones inside of your pack. If that person needs, let's say, some of them might need goggles, and because the light, if they're light sensitive, make sure that you put those sunshades and all of those things that or their hats that they wear sometimes, all of those things that that you need extra, pack those things and go ahead and set it aside. And that way, in the event that there is, because it's not a if, it's a when something happens, you won't have to be scrambling and then upset and say, oh my gosh, we left, our baby's headphones at home, or oh my gosh, we left the sunshades at the house. And so that may be a challenge. If there's a particular blanket, I know sometimes those who are dealing with that are on the spectrum, they have those particular things that are really, really important to them, right? For example, my nephew, when he was young, I have my nephew, he's high functioning autistic, and he used to have these little cars, Tonka cars that he just loved. And so everywhere he went, he would always have these cars. It was very important for us to remember that no matter what, we could not leave the house without one of those little cars. Just so in the event that he had a stressful moment, he could reach into his pocket and get one of those cars and he would be prepared. So think about it like that in your everyday life. If there's something that you would not leave the house with right now, for your person, make sure that you pack it in a box, pack it in a bag, pack it in a suitcase, pack it somewhere special. That way you have that extra resource. So when the issue comes up, you don't have to panic. And that's one less thing for you to think about.
And Fawn, I also want to mention that in our shelters, we also have mental health staff on site. We are very blessed in this county to have the quantity of mental health professionals that we have, behavioral health professionals. So they are available for any mental health issues that may come up, which is something that not every shelter in the state can say they have. So we are very blessed to have that. It's a comfort to us, those of us working in the shelter. It's a comfort to us to know that they're there to support us in any way we need.
And it's also important to think that we're approaching this at times from a place of ignorance, and we know that. So if you've identified things where you've said historically, hey, I went to the shelter once, you didn't provide for this, and this need, cool, let us know. Like, the only way we find out about these things is when we're interacting with the community members, when we're interacting with the access and functional needs registry, and Bill coming back to me saying, hey, it'd be really cool if we could create these autism specific kits so that we could hand these out. There's always options. There's grant funding. There's ways that we can work with Janelle and the Disaster Coalition to secure items like this at times. It's just, if we don't know about it, then we can't address it. And I can't stress enough that all of us that are here today are here because we care about the community more than anything else. So that's really, let us know, let it help us, educate us.
I stand in that space, and because before we just started, that's something I said to Carla and Jason. We don't know what we don't know, and for example, this is not my space, emergency preparedness. So I'm leaning to our experts to tell us and to teach us today. When it comes to the special need that you or your family may be experiencing, you're the subject matter expert on that. And you know all those things that we will forget. Make sure that you reach out and let us know. So that way we can cater something and we can make sure that the next time go round, that we'll have those services made. And maybe we can even do a webinar such to talk about those things when it comes to special needs, or just even our elderly or language access. Educate us in those spaces that you might see the gap. That way we can make sure that if you are speaking to it, that means we have a larger population that we also need to address, because you're not the only person that's experiencing it. So I love that Jason brought that up. We definitely want to make sure that's what equity is meeting the needs of our community and catering those things to specifically make sure that your needs are met. And so just make sure that if you find something or you you are aware of something, pass that information along, because we're only as good as the last information that we have or the last resource that we have. I also wanted to, was there anything else that you all want to share with us that you think is really important that we need to know?
I know I'm just really glad that you brought up the idea of equity, because again, it's one of those things, especially when you're talking about county government, state agencies, we always get into this debate of equality over equity or equal treatment versus equitable treatment. And I can't stress enough that we really strive as a county to provide that equitable treatment. If you need extra tools or extra resources to try to get you to a similar place or to get you to a safe place, let us know. Reach out to us so that we can work with you. That's why we understand that not everybody in the county is going to come to me and say, hey, Jason, I need you to look at this, or I need you to communicate this to me in a different way, or these messages that you send out aren't reaching the appropriate crowds. And that's okay, because we're going to try to do the best we can by changing those resources, by adapting those tools, and making sure that everybody has access to what they need, regardless, while not dumping a whole bunch of resources into groups that already understand this is where this information is coming from. So I think that it's a frequently overlooked thing, especially when you deal with larger groups of people when we hit the county and state levels. But we really do try to focus on that whole idea of equity versus equality.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a discussion that I try to reiterate to our community on a regular basis. Equality is population centered. So equality, everybody has the opportunity to reach out to New Hanover County so they can get the services that they need. Equity is people centered. So equality, we all have the opportunity to listen to this webinar. Equity, I can call Jason, I can call Carla, I can call Janelle and tell them what's going on, and then they will do their best, if it's within their power and resources, to make sure that those needs are met. So it's there. I like to call them the conjoined twins of each other. They work together in order for us to have a more fair and just environment for all of those in our community. So we all are working and walking together. In that way, we are successful in living the best life that we have for our New Hanover County citizens. Jason, do you want to tell people about how that they can enroll in the emergency alert program that we have here?
Sure. So there's a couple different ways. I'm going to go ahead and put that answer into the Q&A as well as the chat. But if you go to Ready NHC, we have a lot of information in there about how to be ready and to remain ready. We also have a new emergency information portal, which is through Code Red, through our OnSolve platform. And that's a whole other area where you can go and sign up for emergency alerts. So that's the one that I'm going to put into the primary chat. And through both of those resources or both of those links, there should be a lot of information to absorb. So if there's any questions about it or concerns, then again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But the big thing with the emergency alerts is that's our way of being able to communicate out important information to the community members as a whole. Now, if you don't sign up for that, we do have access to federal resources where we can ping everyone's cell phone in the event of, an emergency that's sudden and life-threatening or property-threatening. So don't feel as though not going and signing up for the specific thing will preclude you from getting any information from us. Because if there is something life-threatening, we will still be able to communicate with you through various avenues. The scrolling bar on the bottom side of your TV if you're watching the news or the TV. Through your cell phone, stuff like that. So those two links are probably the better of the two links.
Okay.
And I will, I'm sorry, Ms. Fong. I was saying I will put in the chat, but the New Hanover Disaster Coalition page, you can go on there to see how to become a partner, donate, and just kind of see a little bit more of what we do. We also have on there our information when we have a partner meeting. And if you would like to join the distribution list, you will get an email about partner meetings and any events that we have coming up and partnerships. So I will put that in the chat also.
And then also 2 questions I would like you all to speak to is scams. And and how people come through in our community and try to get over on those during these most vulnerable moments. How can people tell the difference between the two, Carla and Janelle and Jason, when we are having disaster situations? Can you give some people tips on ways to, like, nope, not that person, but yes, this person?
Oh gosh, if anybody else wants to jump in on that, I mean, I think about it. When I get a call on my cell phone, if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't answer it. Right? The people who I want to talk to have my phone number, and I'm going to see their name show up, or it's going to be legit from the county, that type of phone number. But again, on the flip side of that, technology being what it is, those folks who use things for bad reasons, criminal reasons, are as advanced as those of us who are trying to do things for the right reasons. So, Jason, do you or Janelle is there a way to assess?
Go ahead, Jason.
So what I would stress to you is that if it sounds like it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Then I can't overemphasize that. But in the event of a disaster coming through, there will always be people or parties trying to profit off of the disaster, and usually it's through profiting off of your stress, taking advantage of what's going on. If there's some grant or funding opportunity, or if there are resources available, then generally we at the county will understand what those resources are, or we will be able to point you to the partners like the Disaster Coalition who will understand what those resources are. Anytime somebody's coming to you following a disaster saying, sign this dotted line right now or else you don't get these resources, is not likely going to be a legitimate source. Come through us, tell them, hey, I want to communicate with the county emergency management to see if this resource is legitimate. I want to see what other options are out there. That is what we're there for. We're there for those public information type sessions. We're there to be able to help you understand what some of your options are. And the reality is there's going to be plenty of times where you might call us and say, hey, I heard about this and this. What do you think? And I'll say, I don't know. But within the county, I have the resources to go and confirm whether or not something is going to be legitimate, whether or not it's an appropriate avenue to go down. And that goes back to everything. It's even within the state, we have the laws that have been adopted to prevent people from increasing prices unreasonably in the event of a disaster. Like, we all know that there are folks that are going to try to profit, unfortunately, off of other people's hurt and harm, and we're there to help prevent that from happening. So if you are hearing about that, also remember that just because you were clever enough to avoid the scam does not mean that your neighbor is. Point those things out to us. Let us know about them so that we can shift them over to the sheriff's department or Wilmington PD to investigate as appropriate, or even up to the state level, because by you doing that, you may protect one of your neighbors and, again, just create a more resilient community.
That's an excellent point. And one of the things I want to make sure that our community also realizes, some services we will provide for. So, for example, if a tree falls down in your yard, if you reach out, the county already have certain services that we can reach out and help get you in contact with those things to get your street taken care of. If the lights go out, Duke Energy is already aware. But if they're not, they will point you to the resources to figure out how to get that light pole restored back up where it needs to be. So don't take someone's word who's coming to knock on your door and say, hey, I'll remove those trees in front of your front yard for a nominal fee, or I'll get that light pole put back up for a nominal fee. We can point you to that. Let's say if a tree falls on your house, we can point you to WARM, that's here in Wilmington, that could possibly assist you. So to Jason's point, there are a lot of things that are already in the mix that if someone's knocking on your door and saying that I can do X, Y, and Z, we probably already have those services available for the community, because that's why emergency preparedness is there, to get you connected. So don't just be so quick to say that sounds like a good rate. You're quoting me a good rate, because that's how they're going to get you. So and be careful when you're going to your Home Depot and your Lowe's and people are there. generally they try to hit you in those spaces, you know, because they know that those are vulnerable moments. So reach out, please, please, if anything, reach out so you can get the best information that you need. We're winding down to our time, and I just want to leave this space for you all to share any additional information that you think our community needs to know.
I'll start like I kind of what everybody was saying. I just cannot stress enough the preparation, the Blue Sky Days, um, joining board or not board, but partner meetings. Even if you can't make every single one, join the mailing list because we send out the notes, and because we send out the notes from each meeting, we send out notes from events that we have, and also knowing that we work year round. We do not work just when it's hurricane season. We do not work when it's just a cold season. We work year round, and continuing to uh, be consistent. That's the biggest things. We have partner meetings every other month. We may not have a storm for a couple of years as we've been lucky, but who knows it? But we want to stay on top of it. We want to be prepared. So joining the partner meetings, educating yourself, connecting with your resources, because we all work together. So that I would kind of use that as my takeaway.
Janelle,
Yes.
before I move to Carla, does the New Hanover Disaster Coalition, do you all accept donations in terms of supplies and or financial?
So we do. And if you go on our website, we have I put the website in and it tells you how to donate because I'm funded through United Way. And so yes, and we will kind of sort because we might have a moment. I mean, it might be a moment that somebody might come and say, hey, I have we had somebody said, as a matter of fact, somebody contacted us and said they had dog food or something that they could supply. And so at this moment, we didn't need it, but also we made a connection with another county or another resource and be like, hey, we have this resource. And so, yes, if you go on our website, you can see how to donate, and that's the easiest way. And that kind of is going back to Jason, right? What Jason was saying about those scamming, like just paying attention. The coalition will not be out there in front of Home Depot with a bucket saying we need donations, right? Kind of following that guideline to kind of say, is this legit? And if you don't know, promise reach out. That's why we have emails and phone numbers. That's our job. So yes, just follow our page for any information or give me a call or email.
And also one to Jason's point, when we talk about disaster, he said this at the top of the hour for those that may have joined late. Disaster isn't just regulated to hurricanes, tornadoes. It could be your home caught on fire. It could be a just another freak event, just so that is related to that. It never happened before. So I'm losing my words, but I'm sure that you will understand. So reach out and let someone know, especially the New Hanover Disaster Coalition. I know recently we had some home fires, and they were able to reach to help make connections to the Red Cross and to other spaces so people can get supplies and get those things, get rehoused back into different situations once those apartment fires were there. Carla, anything that you would like to speak to? And also, could you talk about medications? Like, how frequently should people be checking their medications when they put those inside the bag? Do medications expire? Because we just don't want people to put a whole bunch of medications in a bag and then, when disaster hits.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, obviously, yes, medications do expire. And so that expiration date is going to be in your medicine on the medicine bottle. But if you do have, it's a good point with medication spawn that if a storm is coming this way and you look and you see that I've got 2 pills, I've got 2 of my blood pressure pills left, go ahead and get that refilled, right? Let's get that refilled so you have a whole bottle so if the time comes and you have to come to a shelter or if you evacuate anywhere, you have what you need. Yeah, you want to check them on a monthly basis if you have them tucked away somewhere. Obviously, if it's medicines you take every day, you're going to be checking them every day and you're going to be taking them before the expiration date hits. But that's very important. And when you come to a shelter, when you bring your medicines, I, as a nurse on staff, am not going to ask to look at any of your medicines. You're going to be responsible for your medicines. So that's important too. Whatever you bring to the shelter, you're responsible for keeping it in your area and keeping an eye on it. And that's very important, whether it's your children's medicines or your medicines or whatever. Again, we have nurses on staff who can help you with any health questions you may have. But we're going to let you continue to take care of yourself and your family like you normally would. And one thing I do want to say, Fawn, to our New Hanover County employee community, and this is a phrase that I take from Dave Rice, who was our health director when I first started working here 23 years ago. It's very important for all of us as county employees to prepare personally so that we can respond professionally, because that is an expectation as an employee of New Hanover County, is that if something happens, you will be called on to respond. So take care of your stuff personally so you can then step up and respond professionally.
I love that. We want to allow Mr. Jason to end us all out. Anything that you want to looks like we have one question that's sliding in. Do the shelters have the ability to refrigerate necessary medication? Great question.
That's a good question. We do. Yes, we have refrigerators in our infirmaries. Usually it's in our health rooms. Yes, we have access to refrigerate. If you have insulin or stuff like that, we can certainly do that. But when it comes time for you to take it, we're not drawing it up or anything. We're going to take it out of the fridge. We're going to give it to you. You're going to do what you have to do, and then we can put it back in the fridge.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Jason?
And just as a side note about prescription medications, it's really important for folks to remember, in the state, if a state of emergency is declared by the governor, then there are additional waivers that can be utilized to allow you to refill your medication early. So especially say we have, cross our fingers, another Florence-like event coming to the Cape Fear region. You might still have that week left, but a reasonable citizen might say, within this week-long period, I don't think I'll be able to get out of the shelter and get back, or I don't know that I'll be able to get back to my area to be able to refill my prescription. Those are times when you want to be making sure that you discuss with your physician, hey, can I have this refill early for whatever the medication is? This and this has occurred. If you need help with that, those are definitely the things. Just reach out to us, reach out to emergency management, so I can direct you over to Carla. Reach out to Carla directly so that she can handle it. But no, just keep that in mind. There are options. So don't feel like just because it's early that you might not be able to get your medication, because there are specialty rules and regulations that surround that kind of stuff. Otherwise, the only thing that I would leave you all with is, again, just that idea that we can't help you if we don't know about it. So if you have specialty needs, if you have specialty information, if you don't feel like you've been receiving information from emergency management during disasters, if you feel like our outreach isn't particularly useful to you and you want to see more of that, if you live within a certain section of the community and say, hey, I don't think that you've ever come and talked to us, or that we have any information and we want more of that, reach out to us and let us know. Pretty friendly group of people overall, I'd say. So we won't bite. We're happy to come out and talk to your church group, to your school group, to your HOA. We are continuing to kind of increase the amount of community training that we're doing. Starting in October, we have another community emergency response team training is what it's called. But really, it's just a resource training that we'll be completing. That'll be every Friday evening for a couple hours for about 8 weeks. And then in the spring, we'll do more. And ideally, we'll be doing these quarterly. And again, it's just to increase that resiliency, which if you look at the county's strategic plan, making sure our community is safe and healthy is paramount to the county. And part of that includes emergency management, where we're just super focused on the ability to respond to emergencies, but make sure that the community is resilient after those emergencies. So please, if you have anything, reach out. I'm always happy to forward emails, contacts, whatever, to whoever they need to go to. So yeah, that's really all I'd leave you with.
Well, we are closing out, and I thank you all so much for taking this time. Who would have known that the day that we decide to do this would be in the in the midst of a possible disaster. So we appreciate you for sharing such vital information for our community. Preparedness is important. Being proactive is so much better than having to be reactive. It just sets it removes some of the stress. And right now we're in such a stressful environment. We're talking about mental health. That's a big conversation that we've been having lately over these past several years. So do something that's going to help reduce some of that mental health strain by being proactive to getting some of these things taken care of. Utilize the resources that we have provided for you from the different emails and the different websites that you can go to and connect in, put your information in, because you know that it is secure And we will make sure that you are alerted and you're aware. And then lastly, we don't know what we don't know. So if there's something that we need to know about, if there's a gap that we have, make sure that you are reaching out and letting us know. Teach us the things that we need to be taught so we can educate our other community members. We thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope you have a wonderful and safe Dry Friday. Um, and we will look at you or look to hear from you on our next Equity Matters. Thank you again to all my panel. And I hope you all have a wonderful remainder of your Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fawn.
Thank you.